Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be working on a Chase Paw Patrol costume. My son is about 3 years old and he just loves Paw Patrol. It's one of his favorites. And of course, Chase is one of the main characters in this show, so he requested that I make him a Chase costume this year for Halloween. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get started. Now, I was able to make this costume for $0. I was able just to use scraps that I had at home. I had a little bit of this extra fleece, so this is a great material because you don't have to sew the raw edges. You can just leave it like that. It also has a nice little stretch to it, and it is warm. Where I live, Halloween time is cold, so this will be perfect for my son. So I'm just going to stretch it out. And then I'm going to use just one of his current t-shirts that he has. I'm going to fold in the sleeves because Chase's costume is more just like a vest. So I'm just going to copy that and cut out my own pattern. Now, of course, you're going to need two. So I went ahead and just cut two out. So I have a front and a back. And then I will cut the neckline in the front just a little bit different. And then it's pretty simple. You just sew the shoulders together and then down the sides. And then you can kind of test it on your child before you continue on. Alright, so here I just did a very basic stitch so I could test it, and if it's perfect on my son, it does exactly what it needs to do, so now I can move on. Never ever throw away your scraps. I mean, there are some that I definitely do toss, but I do keep some because they are useful. So here I'm just going through all these different fabric scraps. I was able to find gray, I was able to find this yellow fleece as well that I can use for the gold accents. And I also had some extra black that I found. So this is just a great idea for projects like this, so don't throw them away. Alright, so with the gray fabric that I have, I'm going to be able to sew it right down the middle to create that zipper. I didn't actually want to put a real zipper, especially since this material stretches. It'll just make costumes a lot easier than my son trying to fuss with a zipper and crying about how he can't do it. So with this scrap, I'm just going to fold in the raw edges, iron it down to give me a nice clean piece, and then I will sew it on. Not every costume has this, but I did notice that Chase has two little pockets on the side of his vest. It also does have a tiny little yellow button that you could embellish on there, but I just wanted to put the pockets there because I know my son would love to put a flashlight in during Halloween. Now that the main vest is done, I wanted to move on to making the hat. And I did a lot of different things that just totally failed. So here I tried using some of this poster board that was black, using kind of his hat and trying to make my own hat, and that didn't really work very well. I also tried to use some plastic to do it, and I didn't like that option either. So this is the option that I ended up going with, and let me show you. So the option I found that was best for me was to make kind of that French beret hat, or whatever you call it. I figured it'd be a lot easier because then I get the exact matching color to his vest, and it's something that I could wash. So I took a bowl that was a little bit larger than his head, did a circle, and then I was able to do a second circle as well. And then taking a bowl that was smaller than his head, I moved it off to the side a bit so there would be a bigger bulge in the front to create that police look. And I moved it over and then I cut out that bottom circle. Now that I have my two pieces, I just put them one on top of the other, and then I'm going to sew all the way around this, and then I'll flip it inside out. Alright, now you can see how it is done. It wasn't exactly perfect, but I don't want to waste my material, so I'm going to go with it here. It does fit my son. It kind of pops up in the front, which is what I wanted, but I did decide to add some darts in the back. So basically, after he wore it a couple more times, he ended up stretching it out. So I thought about using elastic to kind of pull it in. So instead, I just put a dart in the back, and I'll show you kind of, you'll see it in the next clip how that is done. So this ended up being a great option for me, and I end up liking it a lot better than what I was first going for. This keeps the hat still propped up in the back rather than going across his head. It also really works well, even though he keeps stretching it out, that it'll continue to fit. Here I just took a 4x4 piece of black felt that I had. I carry a lot of craft felt with me, and so I decided I was going to use it for the rim of this police hat. I didn't want to make it too long anyways, because then it was just going to kind of fall flat over the face, but just a little bit of a rim so it gives the idea of that police hat. I didn't worry too much about that stitch line showing because I am going to be putting that yellow kind of gold rim on there, so no worries about stitching like that. But now if you see it on the bowl, you can see how it has the poof in the front and a little bit of poof in the back, so it resembles a police hat. Alright, we've got our basic vest, we've got our basic underlay of the hat, so now it's time to move on to some of the embellishments. So first we need to do the collar. So a lot of the costumes, the collar that the dogs are wearing is attached to the vest, but I wanted it to be separate. So here I have this extra black fabric, so I measured out my son's neck and gave it a couple extra inches around so that I could wrap this collar around. So all you're going to want to do after you cut it out is sew it and then flip it inside out so the raw edges are on the inside. And then you could also tuck in the raw edges on the end and sew it down as well. I lost the footage of me cutting these out, but it was again a 4x4 craft piece of felt that was both pink and brown, and I just cut it into triangles and then curved out the edges so it could kind of look like puppy ears, and then I made the pink ones a little bit smaller, sewed them together. So now make sure that they are opposite though. You don't want to make two that are perfectly the same but opposite, so then they can stand on the side of the hat for Chase's ears. Here you can see the collar that I have, and I haven't quite decided if I'm going to attach it with Velcro or if I'm going to do some type of button attachment in the back. I'll just have to test it out later. Alright, in my pile of scrap fabric, I did find this yellow fleece as well, so I'll be cutting out a small section and using that as the rim on the hat. So that's kind of the plan here. Then also I'll be attaching the ears on the side to kind of hide that raw edge. So all the small little parts are coming together, and you could also put a little button there like how police hats have. He'll also need a badge on his hat as well as his collar. So the one on his hat is all gray with kind of like a gray and white, or like a darker and lighter gray, and then the one on his neck has a few different colors. So I found this little template, and I found it from my son's sticker book. his little Paw Patrol sticker book collection. So he'd already used one of the badges, and so I cut out that little sticker part to use that as my template for the badges. I also took out a star sticker to help me make the star that will go on the badge on his neck. I hand did the paw print because I thought it was a lot easier, so I'll be cutting that out and then pasting it. Alright, so my two badges are done. So the one with the star is the one that's going to go on the collar. For the blue background, I just used my blue fabric markers because I didn't want it to be so bulky with layers of felt. And then I made sure to use black as well to kind of outline the badges so it could stand out a little bit more. Now that I finished the badges, I'm working on the shoulder parts. So it's kind of like most police outfits where it's a little triangular shape with yellow lines and stars. Now it's time to add on the embellishments. So with the little shoulder pads, I'm just going to attach them up across the shoulders, and I'll just sew part of it on. I haven't really decided if I'm going to lay them both flat down because I kind of want them to poof up. So I'll make sure that it is attached. Now everything that I've done I have sewed on. I have not used any hot glue, and that's because I do have intentions of washing these, and I just want them to stay attached and not be falling off. Hot glue, in my experience, does not stay on forever. Now everything I'm going to be putting on the hat, I have decided to hand sew it on. I think it will actually be a lot easier to hand sew it than it will be to try to put that through a machine. So I'm just going to go around the edges, and then I went ahead and did the little yellow gold band across the rim, and then I'll be hiding the edges with the Paw Patrol ears. And since it is this really nice kind of heavy craft felt, it should just stick straight up, so I'm going to just be sewing across the bottom and see how that looks. Now that our vest is done, I went ahead and finished the collar. Now I decided just to put this little elastic band and a button in the back, mostly because I didn't make it long enough for Velcro, so my son will need help with me putting it on, but it works well. Laying it up, it looks like it's part of the vest and the hat as well. And as soon as he puts it on, those ears stick straight up, so I only needed to sew the bottom edge on. And there is my Chase costume. My son loved it and kept on posing for me. Of course, you could make this easier. You could use a blue t-shirt. You could buy a police hat and just change up the badge on the front. So many simple ways to make your kids' Halloween a ton of fun.